Welcome to the How to Heart Show, helping men reconnect to the heart and empower others as the leaders they were born to be. I'm Vincent Haasboom. The world needs the raw and authentic men right now. Join us if you're ready to make a change.
Sorry, I can't hear you, Vincent.
Oh, I'm muted. I don't know why I'm muted, but okay. So let's start again. Hey, what's up, Lions, and welcome to the How to Heart Show. I'm here with Tamie Hall, and it's really interesting how we connected. We connected on LinkedIn, and I think I just browsed and I saw Tamie and I just connect with her, and then she started to reach out like, hey, Vincent, let's connect. And it really had a nice click and a nice vibe with her. So we hopped on a call, we had a conversation, and I said, I want Tamie on the show because her perspective on the masculine, the feminine dynamics is really, really interesting. And it's going to be really a nice way for us to move towards that topic and see where it lands or how it goes. So I'm really excited for Tamie to be here. It took some time. We both had some issues and tech stuff problems. But I'm really glad that she's here from Australia, so that's really cool. And also shout out to Tamie because she's been really kind to me. Like, oh, Vincent, no problems when I canceled or I need to reschedule. And yeah, I really wanted to say that because you're really kind and you're really open-hearted for things like that. So I really wanted to share that with the audience.
Thank you so much. It has been a journey, but it is as you said, we clicked, and I love what you're doing here, and it really ties in with what I do, and it's been a great journey with you so far. So really excited about today for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So Tamie, can you share with us in a nutshell who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I'm from Victoria in Australia. So it's summer here and it's hot as anything here at the moment. I grew up in the cities in Victoria, and then I started in my career in social work, actually in homelessness, and I grew that over 17 years. And the last part of my career before I started working for myself and coaching individually was in the family violence sector, but working solely with men. And it was the most amazing position and job I ever had. I think I learned so much, not just about the industry itself, but about men as a whole. I think I came in with a very small idea of who men were and how they functioned and how they showed up in the world. And through working with men one-on-one and in groups, I really started to grow an appreciation and curiosity for how men and what masculinity means, in not just in the context of self, but in the context of community, and how men grow up and what the expectations are and what men really feel and would like in their lives. And so from there, I started coaching men. I got into life coaching about 5 years ago, and just really connected with the idea of coaching men and being able to support men to connect to different parts of themselves that generally may not be accepted in their lives, in everyday life, outside of what modern masculinity looks like or what masculinity has looked like over their whole entire life.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Tamie. And you know what's interesting, that when I talk with other guests, also female, they say, yeah, I work with men. And it's so surprising for me to women to work with men, because usually men work with men. So why do you think women really want to work more with men and not just with women?
I think it comes down to healthy relationships, and building community needs healthy masculinity and men that are connected to themselves just as much as we do women. And I think as a woman, I have raised a son, and I look at relationships have two people in them, and if both sides are not functioning, and both sides are not connecting with themselves, their purpose and who they are, they're not going to be healthy in both sides. And so I think for me, I'm a little more of a straight shooter and a straight talker myself. So I think I connect with men really well in that aspect. And I think men have had a rough sort of story in life, thinking that they need to be something. And I think as a woman, I like to connect and show and see how you can unpack that, and also be able to give a bit of a female perspective to men as well, and the nurturing side of a woman that some men have not necessarily been able to break down that wall with. I think a lot of men I work with, one of the common things they say is being able to learn to speak openly with a woman is a skill to learn, because they've needed to be stoic and they've needed to be very strong and projector and to provider to everybody, that it's been very rarely they've broken down that wall to just be vulnerable. And I think sometimes men need to learn to be vulnerable with women too, because that's where the strength lies in their relationships.
Yeah, that's a good point, because from my perspective, I struggled a lot with women, and I was really afraid to open up, like tell them how I feel. Like, for example, I see somebody walking and I want to talk to her, but then I make it friendly. So I won't tell her like, hey, I like you, let's go on a date. I go around the bush and try if I can maneuver my way in of getting her into her pants. Was like, what the hell am I doing? And I'm making so hard on myself. And just what I also learned was I tried to be this man. I cannot show any emotion. I cannot be vulnerable. I need to show her that I'm masculine. And I was just shaking on my legs, and I was like, I cannot operate like this. I need to stop having this mask on, this stoic mask, and really share how I really feel. But in the back of my head, it's really, yeah, but I feel like I'm not worthy to her. I feel like I'm not a man that can protect her because I show vulnerability. So how do you see that?
It's very, and that is something that I see all the time. And I think what the interesting part is that having worked with men in a group situation, when men get together, men like to get together with people they know, with men that are similar, and that there is a hierarchy in that group of people. But when you put men together that don't know each other, the vulnerability part and the bit of connection is a lot harder, because they're not choosing who they are with in a group. With women, you can throw any women together and they can be vulnerable and they can talk and chat for hours and really connect with that side of themselves. When you get men together, it becomes a bit of a power struggle, because vulnerability is something that isn't accepted in the masculine world easily. And I think what has been interesting working with men, especially in group, is really being able to break down that idea that vulnerability is not safe, that vulnerability is not strong, and really starting to see men connect together. And when men can connect together like that, I think, and on a vulnerable level, I think what is interesting about that is that they then start to change their relationship with vulnerability and start to be able to look at it differently with women, and how they can be vulnerable and the strength behind vulnerability.
Yeah, I also talk about this in my solo episodes. And you know what's funny? When I say it, I know it. So I know I can be vulnerable, it's okay. But when I'm out there in the world and I see women that I'm attracted to, then it's gone. It's my nervous system is overreacting. I don't know what to do. And I'm just like, no, maybe she has a boyfriend. Then I'm going to my head, and then there's more anxiety. And it's like, it's so annoying that the nervous system always takes over. It's always overreacting when there's no danger. There's also rejection. I also, when I scroll on TikTok, there's always like how to diffuse rejection and how to overcome rejection. But when you think about it, there's never rejection. We created those words, we created those anxieties for us to have a meaning. But I say there's never be a rejection. If she says no, then the situation is not the right moment, or maybe she has a bad day or stuff like that. But what I always feel is the nervous system. The nervous system is always overreacting. Can you maybe share more also maybe with clients that you have that they say, I can do it, but my nervous system is always coming up. There's always this struggle with myself.
There is. And I think when I work with men, and when I've worked with men before, I think what's very interesting is the men majority live in their heads, are very logical and very tactical about life in any aspect. That's how they get through life and be protectors, providers, is be very logical in their head and strategic and things like that, which is what has kept the structure safe over so many thousands of years. And I think what I do and what is very interesting is getting men to connect with their bodies, with their emotions, with what's happening inside them, instead of just strategy and storytelling in their mind. And what that does is start to learn to regulate the nervous system, but also what it does is get them to connect with a feminine part of their body and their energy that they haven't connected with before, or have been feared for, or have been, like you say, had stories when they were young told about how that's not okay, how that's, being a girl, or all those sorts of stories that are told to men when they are young, that it's not masculine to do that. I really work with men on connecting with their body and really working through that emotional connection and how those stories have told themselves, and working through that to just break through the mindset to connect it to how they feel and where that comes up and where that's come from and what they really want in life, to connect to the nervous system and to connect to others. Which
I agree.
Journey
connecting with others.
Yeah. And it's interesting working with men because the connection to others changes their life, because of course they have to walk back out into a masculine world. So when they do learn to do that, it changes aspects of every part of their life, who they connect with, how they connect with other men, all that sort of thing. And I think that's where this sort of work is not just an individual story of work. This is a work on changing the idea of what masculinity is and what modern masculinity can be on a community and social level as well.
So can you share with us the masculine and the feminine dynamics? Because I feel like we don't talk about it a lot. And in the past, I was really in my feminine energy. So when I wanted to do something that's masculine, I would be like shy away, or I don't know what to do. And when I was working with my dating coach, he said, don't apologize. If you want to do something, just do it. And it was so hard for me because I was looking for approval. Like, hey, if I do this, is this okay? Is no one going to hurt me? Is no one going to yell at me? And there's also trauma. But it was so hard for me to be in the masculine and the feminine dynamics, because men, they don't think they have feminine energy. They think they need to be strong and like you said, the stoic mask and stuff like that. But I learned I need to be in balance with both. But it was so hard to be in the masculine. Do you see that more, that men are so pushed in the feminine and getting a hard time being balanced with the masculine and feminine?
I think I see it both ways, and I think it's very interesting how you have very feminine men that are very much in their feminine energy, and I think what the interesting part is the reason that the patterns that I have seen in that is that men that are really not, that really sort of struggle with being in their feminine like that, like a lot in their feminine, it's not them. It's the world they live in, like you just spoke of. It's what they live in. So what it really is all of this comes back to people being able to connect with themselves and love who they are. Because in the end, there are even men that are highly in their feminine still need to connect to their masculine, because that's where people get things done, and that's where, we function a lot in. But I think it's getting comfortable with where a man is at and accepting also what's happening around in their world. Same with men that are highly, highly masculine. It's connecting with themselves and realizing that vulnerability is fine. That feminine with the feminine, it's really understanding that you're being highly feminine is fine, and it's what it is who you choose to surround yourself with, where you choose to sit within yourself and be comfortable within who you are, to be able to say, no, this is fine. Because looking at what you were saying, because a lot of, like you say, with a lot of feminine men, women don't necessarily, women have also been taught that we need masculine men, that we need men that can stand up and, fight the good fight for us. But the thing is, I think there is an aspect where that it's not just a men thing, it's understanding the whole of society, and also reteaching that society and women as a whole too, that that fight and that need to be highly masculine is not the only way to be. And for relationships to be healthy, you both need to be able to be vulnerable and support each other in both aspects. And you also need to love and see the strength in a man that is vulnerable, and a man that is at peace, and a man that does like to connect on that emotional level, and that is the strength in the world. That is what we need more of, to be able to nurture children, families, ourselves, and bring through a world that is connected again, and that doesn't look at healthy relationships as a pie in the sky idea, as something that's not obtainable, or that is something that is rare, but it needs to be brought in that it's something that's more normal.
That's interesting. Thank you so much for sharing, Tamie. And my question that came up to me, why is it that men having a hard time to be vulnerable? Is it really how they've been raised up? Is it the limiting belief, like society has been taught us, so I need to act like this? Is it really from within, or is it really learned behavior?
It's learned behavior. I think it's both. It's learned behavior. I mean, we grow up with the idea of boys don't cry, and you play with trucks, and all those sorts of ideas. Not only, and that comes from, generations. It comes from community. It comes from all of those things. There is a way that men are raised to be, and whether people realize it or not. Some people say, I've had a great childhood. Yes, you have. But these concepts and ideas and and frameworks around what masculinity is a social construct of what men should be. So then is it learned, or is it just part of who you are? Well, I suppose when you learn that as a child, it builds that story of who you are, and also who you need to be. And if you don't fit that box, that there is something not right about who you are as a man. And I think that is where this starts, is really looking at how do we hold men in society? How do we hold men as a community of what's acceptable and what's not? What their role is and what their role is not. And if we can look at breaking that down and opening that up to be more open-minded around what masculinity is, we then get to change that, and men get to be vulnerable. Men get to be able to explore who they are on a different level and from a different aspect, and be able to have a space that's open. I think working with men, for me, one of the greatest things is, and that I hear all the time, is this is the first time I've got to be in a place, in a space where it's non-judgmental, where I can explore this idea. But in their life in general, there isn't a space, especially with other men and that sort of thing, to explore what vulnerability is, how they connect to their feminine. That's not a normal space that can be opened for them to even explore that and see what that looks like outside what they know.
Yeah, I can imagine. For me, it was also hard for me to really explore myself, but also accept myself. I really accept for who I am, not just, oh, so I'm an introvert and I cannot do anything. I have problems talking to people. Like, no, yeah, I'm an introvert, but people have to accept that I'm an introvert. Or if I can be a bit shy and I have to work on my confidence, people have to accept that I have to work on that. But for me, really accepting myself was so hard. And I feel like a lot of men struggling because they want to create this identity towards the world. Like, look, this is who I am, but I'm also really insecure deep down inside. But I don't want to show it off. I don't want to see that I'm weak. And I learned opening up, it's really powerful when you're having a hard time and you say it to friends or to somebody that you trust, or a girlfriend, like, hey, I'm having a hard time and I just need somebody to talk to. But for men, it's so hard because we're like, no, I'm gonna do it myself. I don't need somebody to talk to. I will fix it. I will solve everything. But deep down, you're just heartbroken. You just want to cry, but you're just holding it in until you break down. And I feel like a lot of men hurting themselves because they don't want to. They feel a lot of shame because they feel these emotions, and they don't want people to see it because then they're weak. So I think, or I know, that's something as men we need to let go of the taboo of, if I show emotions, then I'm weak, which is not.
So true. And I think it starts with that learning that no emotions are bad and good. Like, emotions are emotions, and being able to show those. And what's interesting in what you just said is the concept of how you show up in the world. A lot of men have grown up and do live in families and societies and jobs and things that if you were vulnerable, the first thing that would be told you is toughen up. So then it becomes, like you said, a shame spiral around the idea of, well, oh, what do I do with this now that I'm starting to feel this? What do I do? Is this a wrong thing to be feeling? Because I need to be this, and this. Strong, stoic, and a protector, and all of these things. So what it is also working with men on how to show up in your world with being yourself and being able to be vulnerable, but also, understanding how other people in your world may respond to that, because it's not accepted in a lot of areas, but it's also being able to say, be confident, learn to be vulnerable within yourself and get comfortable and know yourself and your purpose and your connection to your legacy that you want to leave, to be able to explain that to others, to be able to work in your world to help explain to others, hey, this is actually isn't a bad thing, this is a good thing, and I'm actually stronger and I'm actually more supportive, and I'm actually showing up in my family, in my relationships more now than I ever have, because I can now connect with myself. And yes, this challenges so many ideas that so many people have about what men are and who they should be. But if we can start to sort of be more compassionate and more empathetic and give people the idea of who a man should be, more grace, we're actually going to end up with a lot stronger men and a lot stronger families and a lot stronger relationships, because men get to actually support themselves and connect with themselves without that shame and without that guilt of not being what others think they should be. And they get to chase who they are and learn who they are and build a life that they're happy in, and that they feel joy and that they feel gratitude and that they feel that opportunities are bigger than they know. And they also can see that they are worthwhile in all areas of life. So many men I work with are like their careers are doing really well and their businesses are doing really well, and they're, provided all the houses and the cars, and they've got all the structural stuff that's happening, yet they walk in their door at home and there's a disconnect with their family because they don't know where else they fit within that, because they've just done what, you need to go and provide this, and you need to give them, and, you need to make sure there's food on the table and all these things, which is 100% fantastic. But then when they feel like they have reached what they're meant to do, they don't have that connection at home and think that that's not where they fit, because they don't have that emotional connection. They don't know how to connect in that way, because it's never been expected that they're getting pats on the back for providing the structural things they need. And I think that's what I do a lot of work around is okay, that's fantastic. And if that makes you happy, great. If there are other things you want to do, let's look at what that is. But let's work on vulnerability and connection and really rewriting the story around that vulnerability and connection is where strength and where masculinity is.
Yeah, that's really powerful. And what came to me is connection. You say a lot of connection. So how does it look like for men? What is it like? Yeah, connection, but connected to what? Connected to the body, connected to the heart, connected to business, connected to partner. How do you see that? What is the structure that you work with for men to connect? What are the steps that you take for them to start reconnecting with themselves and their heart?
It's interesting. What I do is start with the head. It's where men work really well, is what their goals are, what they see themselves, looking at really what they feel are like their strengths and weaknesses sort of thing. And then really diving deep on connecting that with their heart, with their body, and with what they're really missing. And a lot of the time it comes back to connection. And first of all, and I think the interesting part is that I talk about relationships a lot, but the main relationship I work on with men is the relationship with themselves and their body and their heart and connecting with themselves. Because until you can really open up and connect with yourself and feel emotions and be vulnerable with yourself and honest with yourself and be able to have true connection and trust in yourself, being able to do that with others and be vulnerable with others is extremely hard. It's you can try, but it's very hard, because the first person you need to be able to do all that with and trust first is yourself. And a lot of the time, like you've spoken about, is that vulnerability with self is actually one of the hardest things, because men will shut it down. No, I can't feel that. No, I'm not meant to, I'm not meant to do that. I'm ticking all the boxes. I'm doing everything I need to do. I'm a great partner. I'm a great husband or father or self. I'm doing amazing things in the world. That's not something I need. But the connection with self, actually, in the end, what I see a lot with clients is that when they become vulnerable and connected with their nervous system, with their body, with their emotions, it doesn't just help in being open and connected to their significant people in their life. Even I've even worked with men around relationships within family, because they've when they're with family, their conversations are so surface level, because it's never been acceptable to be able to be vulnerable and let somebody know who you really are. And so it's in all relationships, but the interesting part is that it comes back to the self first. And when they can do that and connect vulnerable with themselves, it radiates out into all parts of their life. Their careers become less stressful, and they have more connection there. They get connected to their body, which then connects them back to their health, which something, is not necessarily something men are really connected with, is their health either, and it connects them back to all areas of their life, not just the one they think they need to connect with, which is other people. It connects with and has abundance in all areas of their life instead.
Yeah, I totally agree. The thing that I want to share is what I've learned is self-love, and I didn't love myself for a long, long time, and it was really hard for me to understand self-love. And what I discovered really through building a business and growing and evolving and stuff like that is setting boundaries. That's something that's so important for me as a man. Like, I need to set boundaries, also for women as well. But for me, it was so important because I couldn't set boundaries. Saying no to people and to things, it was so difficult because I felt if I didn't say no, I would have conflicts. I would have problems that I need to defend myself, and I didn't want to do that. So I said yes to everything, and it caused me so much stress, anxiety, overworked, just running my ass off. It didn't work out. Burnouts. And I see men are really in this pleasing behavior, also with women. They put women on a pedestal to get the approval. That's why there's a lot of nice guys. I've been one, so I know. And I always try to win women over. Like, okay, if I do this and this and this, she will like me and we're going to go on a date and stuff like that. But I learned women don't operate like that. Yeah, they like nice guys, but also they need a man that needs leadership, knows the direction that he's going, has purpose, his dreams, his goals, his desires. Say no when when he doesn't want to do it. But it was so hard for me to do all those things. But once I realized if I don't do that, life is going to be hard. I'm going to have a hard time moving in life, doing what I want to do. I cannot say yes to everything. It doesn't work like that. And also perfectionism, though I was being perfect with everything. But then it goes all back to trauma. There's a lot of traumas that happened to me, and those traumas were in the driver's seat. So I had to unlearn, I had to reprogram the nervous system, the mind, and stuff like that. But it took so much time, and sometimes I got so frustrated and angry. Like, why is it taking so long for me to do all this stuff? Why is it taking me such a hard time to walk up to women and start talking to them? So I think for men, it's also important that you need to understand that you need to love yourself, but also accept yourself. But don't let go of that, because some men, they say, okay, I'm gonna change, but then they see a cute girl and then they go back into the old habits. And it's really the powerful decision to say, like, no, I know if I'm gonna be that person again. I know what's coming. So I think it's really important also for men to understand the habits that you trained, developed, usually through trauma or a coping mechanism, that you learn to unlearn it. And I think it's really hard for men to do that. Also for women as well, but I think for men in general, it's really hard for change the identity.
100% it is. And I think you bring up several good points there. One, and it comes back to vulnerability. The unlearning of things comes back to the vulnerability, because to do that sort of work, you have to connect with vulnerability first. And that is a hard skill for men to learn, because it hasn't been something that naturally is accepted in the man's world. But another good point you bring up there is so many people talk about women being people pleasers, and that being a big part of what women do, and I can totally relate to that. But what I have found over my time of working with men too is that men do people pleasing just as much. And it's exactly what you were just explaining then. I think people like to think that men don't people please, but it comes out in a different way. It comes out in the working longer hours, wanting to create more financial wealth so that they can provide more things to their families. People saying, "Oh, I'd like a bigger house," and them going, "How on earth am I going to make this happen so that my family can have a bigger house, or my family can go on more holidays, or I can give them whatever they want and need." So there's a whole aspect of, I think, that doesn't necessarily get labeled that way, of men also being a part of masculinity, being people pleasing and putting aside really connecting with what they want and what they need, because in society and in the world, what you want and need is second nature. For a man, you are there to look after others in a protecting and providing way. So I think really looking at that idea of men's people pleasing, the availability not to also say no, not to have the need to feel like they need to say yes to everything, because that shows how much they can do, how strong they are, and how they can handle anything, and they can keep going as long as they need to be who other people need them to be. And what the other aspect that you just spoke about is the idea of connecting to self-love and self-worth and all of those sorts of things. What I find is I've heard a lot over my time, men are like children. And it's a silly thing that a lot of people say. But I think what that has also done is also made it very not accepted for men to be able to connect with that playful joy side of themselves that lets them just be who they are and connect with joy as a whole. I think men in masculinity, joy and being joyful and being playful and being just free in that aspect is also not something that is highly acceptable in a lot of frameworks. And to love yourself and trust yourself and to build that self-love, being able to just connect with joy and fun and just freedom to just connect with that side of yourself is not always acceptable either.
Yeah, what came to me is really what I always feel is like men, they're not allowed to have fun. It's like the song, like girls want to have fun, but for men, if they want to have fun, it's like it's not okay. It's like you need to toughen up. You need to be man up. If you make a joke and nobody laughs and you're laughing, it's like you're silly. You need to be grown up. But what I've discovered is really we are neglecting the inner child. We don't look at the inner child anymore. We think now we're adults and now we don't have to take care of the inner child. If I've said this to so many guests if you like model trains, but your friends are laughing at you because you're doing the model trains, you're gonna put it in the trash for them. Why are you doing this? Why are you changing what you love to do for other people's approval? Because you throw your trains away, but then they're gonna leave your life. They're gonna meet other people, or they lose interest in you. So you're changing your behavior, you're changing your life to please them. And I did this so many times that I had things and people's like, no, you shouldn't do that. I was like, yeah, maybe they're right. And I just threw it away, and I felt so bad because I was neglecting the inner child. So that's something for men also. And my dating coach also told me that as well. You need to play more. You need to interact and have a playful mindset. When you talk with women, don't be so serious. Have a playful mindset. If you're at work, have a playful mindset. Just make some jokes or try something different and see how that works out. But we try to frame the world as something vulnerable. It's like I cannot show any emotion. I cannot make any jokes because then I'm different and I don't want to show off different. And we need to stop. We need to stop changing ourselves for others. And I know it's really hard. For me, it's so hard to change, but I'm learning to speak up. And it was really hard for me to do that. But once I do that more and more, like you said, I'm building this confidence. I'm trusting myself that I can handle it. But then I'm enjoying it more. I'm having more fun. I'm smiling. I'm more playful. I see now that I can interact more with the world. So my question for you is, Tamie, men really needs to be having a more playful mindset, right? And also connect, like you said, the connection, and really connect with the inner child again, because I feel like that's something that we just throw away, and it's so sad because we have so much things that we remind of, like in the past, our parents, and we change ourselves for others, and that's not good. That's something that we have to change.
It's interesting you speak about that. One of the first things I do with a lot of clients, my male clients, is ask them to give me things that give them joy, that make them happy, that are fun. And most of the men, when I sit there, like you said, can't give me many things. And I said, look, I don't care if they're little or big. Like, it doesn't matter if it's sitting and having a block of chocolate because you just love chocolate and it just makes you feel amazing, or that it is like you're talking about, playing with model trains, and that's what I love to do. One of the first activities I give most of the men that I work with is go away and explore and get me a list of like 20 things that make you happy, that give you joy and excitement. And they'll say, I don't have any. I said, there's the beauty in the activity, is the fact that you get to connect with yourself, but you also get to explore, be curious. And I think any part of this journey for men and for healing and for connecting with your inner child and all those sorts of things is curiosity and vulnerability with self and looking at and exploring different things. And the amount of times men come back with me, and that is a small part of what I do with them. And it can take them weeks and weeks to be able to get a list of things they enjoy, because it's not something that has been part of their world. Their acceptance has been in the hustle, in the strength, in all of those things. And like you say, connecting with that joy has been so much vulnerability and so not part of the bigger picture that they haven't done it. And they find it a really hard activity to do, to find things that actually make them, give them joy that can be whatever.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, you said it perfectly. That's something that we have to explore more. For me as well, I have things that I want to do, but sometimes like, yeah, maybe not today, or I just talk myself out of it, or I feel a lot of anxiety. It's like, no, maybe another time. And it's like, I don't even try. I don't even try it out. Also with women, it's the same thing. I fear the rejection and I walk away, but it hurts more for me not knowing what could have happened. I don't know if she would have said yes or no. And that hurts more than the rejection. And I feel like if men don't start exploring and having more fun in their life and try new things, they're gonna have regrets when they're on the deathbed and say, I wish I did this, or I wish I started this business, or I wish 10 years ago that I talked to this girl that I was attracted to, but I didn't because I feared rejection. And then you don't know. So that's a good point that you made, that we need to start exploring more as men and not just hold on to this framework like I need to be this man, this stoic man. I need to toughen up and I cannot have fun. I cannot play with my model trains because people think I'm then silly, or I need to grow up and act like a man, how we've been told to. And it they never really connected with me. Like, you need to be a man. Also, I was so in my feminine, but it didn't connect. Like, you need to be a man. Like, yeah, I'm a man, but I also have dreams. I have desires. I have silly things. I have things that people find stupid, but for me, it's so important, or it lights me up. But it's really the art of not giving a fuck, like the book.
It is.
It's really you need to do what makes you important, what's important for you, and what makes you happy. And if you do that, your life will change, and also the attraction as well, because like you said, magic is going to change. You're going to attract new people. You're going to have people that also build model trains, so you can do them with other people, and you feel this connection with other men as well, or with other people, because you're not alone in this. You see, oh, there's more people doing what I'm doing, and it's fun. So you made some, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just thinking about what you just said, and that's the interesting part, I think, too, is men shut down all the vulnerability and all the things that they love, and they don't explore that. And a lot of them don't even know, like I explained, don't even know what gives them joy. And they end up with connections and in situations where, like you spoke about earlier, like, not being who they are because they're expected to do this. So then connection then comes with stress and with conflict and with all those sorts of things. But if you can connect to that joy and those things that you love, like you just spoke about, you bring in the people that love that stuff, the people that can handle a man that is in his true masculine, true masculinity, where there is that feminine side, and there is that vulnerability, and there is that joy, and there is that freedom and playfulness. And then you then attract those people, and instead of being what you expect is needed from you as a man, you get to be your authentic self, and then you end up with connections and relationships that you attract, that people do love, that people don't find that not okay, and that's how we start rewriting what masculinity is by men being authentic and actually drawing in the relationships that are exciting, that are connected, that have things that has those similarities in it, and realizing that being your authentic self and sitting in all of your glory is what actually being a real man is. And society will start looking at it differently too.
Yeah, for sure. And your whole life will change. You'll feel better as well, because if you just put everything down and you just change yourself, you don't have freedom to move. You don't have freedom to explore, and you're stuck. And once, like Tamie explained, once you're gonna do all the things that she said, your life is gonna have more fun. It's gonna have more meaning. You're gonna see what's capable and what's not. And there's always a way to find ways to do that. But what I've learned is I have to let go. I have to don't take everything so seriously. But what I struggle the most right now is really the nervous system. It's always overreacting. It's always stressing out. And I try to talk to myself, okay, just relax. It's okay. But it's hard. It's really hard. People think it's easy to just be a man and be tough, but it's not always easy. If you're having a lot of emotions or anxiety, it's hard. People think it's easy, but it's hard to be a man sometimes.
It is, and like you talk about there, the nervous system, I think it runs really, really high. And I think in men, it like you just said, it's hard to regulate. It's hard to calm the nervous system, because again, to do that it takes vulnerability. It takes sitting in a feminine place where feeling emotions and understanding and actually feeling emotions to completion is what needs to happen, and what needs to become a routine and a part of your life. It needs to become normalized, and currently it's not. And I think that's the hard part, is to regulate your nervous system. You also have to regulate emotions. And when I talk to men, so many men, if you ask them, even name me emotions, most of the time men are really good at about naming 4 or 5 emotions. And we know that there is like hundreds of different emotions. But when you can only verbalize 4 or 5 emotions, it makes it that's one of the hurdles that needs to be broken down and become vulnerable in, because to be able to feel emotions, you need to be able to connect with them, and we all know to connect with things, you also need to be able to verbalize it to a degree too, to be able to understand it, to work through it. So I think to regulate a nervous system with men is really, it comes back to that vulnerability and self-love and those sorts of things, to be able to get to the point to really feel emotion and regulate your nervous system. And it's really hard.
Yeah, it is. And also, Tammy, what came to me is also, as men, we need to challenge ourselves more. It's not like we're now in this day and age that we are all everything from the phone. There's no challenge anymore. We don't have to hunt. We don't have to do things that's really like life threatening. So as men, and for me as well, I need to challenge myself more. For me, my challenge is really talk with more women. I want to connect with more women and talk to them. I want to, like, as a man also, I want to attract women. But also I want to speak up more. I want to speak louder. Sometimes I can be, hey, how are you? That's the things that I have to learn. That's what I feel. It's not like, oh, so when I do those things, I'm a man. Then I'm finally a man. Like, no, this is important for me to learn that skill set. This is important for me to grow as a man. And men, they stop challenging themselves. And if they want to challenge and they tried one time, it's like, oh yeah, it's too much. I'm not gonna do that again. Okay, phone on scrolling. I'm gonna order it online. It's so much easier. So I feel like for men, we need to challenge ourselves more and get more uncomfortable, go more in uncomfortable situations, go in there and see how your nervous system responds, see how you cope with it. And then you go out like, okay, this and this happened. Next time I'm gonna do this. But like I said, sometimes your brain is just off. It's somewhere out there, and the body's just like, run, just run. And it's like, oh, it's so tough. But like I said, we still have to learn as men to like feel what's happening, but also still push through it. Okay, I feel it, but I need to go. This is important. This is my drive. This is for business, for example, like that. Not just with women, but also business. If you want to do something for business, you're gonna have hard times. Gonna have uncomfortable moments. But once you do it more and more and more, you're gonna build this confidence. You know what to do next time. So that's my advice for men. Start a business and grow on yourself. Learn to do new things. It changed my life, starting this podcast and coaching and building a course. It really challenged myself, what I can do and can do. So that's something that I wanted to give for men. And thank you so much, Tammy, for sharing what you've shared so far. It's really powerful. And you gave me so much nuggets as well for me to use that in my life. And I want to go a little bit into the relationships before we're going to go deeper in what you do. So how important is it for men to not only have a relationship with themselves, but also with women? Because I feel like today it's really the men are mostly in the feminine, or they just don't have any direction or leadership in their relationship, and women are just like, okay, so I need to take the lead again. I don't want to do that. That's not masculine. Or she wants to be in the feminine. She wants to relax, and she wants you to take the lead. So what is your point of view on that?
What my point of view on that is I think that relationships are complicated beasts. They really are. And I think it comes down to not one size fits all. I think if you get into a relationship that isn't, it goes back to the concept of the joy thing. If you are a very feminine man, there is a woman out there. There are women out there that love that connect with that like to that is what they do. And I think it's really getting comfortable within yourself to realize that those women, when you can show up in the world as yourself and you love that and you're comfortable with that, the women that love that and that want that in their world are going to be attracted to you. Relationships are a decision you make every single day when you wake up. You choose to turn up and show up and choose to work at that relationship every day. The other side to that is that finding a person that gets you, that understands you, and that doesn't want to change you. So if you can get into a relationship that, if you can attract women or men, like attract your partner that is that you are in, when sitting in your feminine, a man that sits more in their feminine, that is what lights them up. That's what you're looking for. And will there be struggles along the way? Yes, there always is. But the thing is that it's not trying to change. It's finding someone who's not going to change who you are. And it's about communication. It's about strong communication, that if there is an issue with that, it's finding out how to navigate that, not how to change yourself. And it's about being confident in who you are and knowing that there is a woman out there for you that will love you just as you are, is sitting in that space, and will appreciate that sitting in that feminine is just as strong and masculine as what the traditional masculine is. And I think you've mentioned this a lot of the time. It's about just being confident in being able to have those conversations with women, being able to sit there, and if that is not the person that understands that with you, then that's just not the right person. And the next one can be. And enjoying the process, enjoying the exploration of finding your people, finding your match, finding the people that understand and get you in who you are as you are, and sees the strength and the masculinity in that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. You have some good points. For me personally, what I feel like, if a man is too much in the feminine, yeah, they can attract women. It can work out. But what I feel is, she will feel like, okay, yeah, I like you as a I like your feminine qualities, but there's no direction. You're afraid to take the lead. You're afraid to move into action. If you say something and you don't do it, she will lose trust. So if men are really in the feminine, they need to find the balance. It's okay. I also have my feminine, how can I say, things, but I also know I also have to operate from the masculine side as well. What somebody told me I really liked, is like, the feminine is love and the masculine is action. And that's something that I try to do. Like, yeah, I have, if a girl talks to me and she starts crying, I cry too. But it doesn't mean I stop with my podcast, or I stop with everything I'm doing. It's like, okay, come here, we'll cry together. But then I'm moving again towards my goals, my desires, the things that I want to do. So it's not like for men to say, oh, now I need to do this. This is my advice. For men, you need to do what feels comfortable, or what's feels good for you, but you also need to learn to be in both, not just be in the masculine like Tammy explained, that then you're gonna be a bad boy or stuff like that. That's also not the right way, but you need to find a balance. You need to play with both sides and see what's worked for you. I'm not totally my full masculine all the time or in my full feminine. I'm in this yin yang, playing together on both sides, and that's how I operate, and that's the best way for me to live. But sometimes the feminine can really like take over. It's like, okay, I know now, and now I need to go back, take a step back, and take action, or I need to do something else. So I feel like it's really important for also, that's what I wanted to share as well for men also. If you're already in the feminine, it's fine, but I highly recommend you also find the balance with the masculine, right?
Yeah, and I think too, it's understanding the masculine energy. I think in the example you just spoke about, that real feminine side of being emotionally connected is so foreign to what people think masculinity is, but it's such a beautiful side to be able to connect with and to be able to experience and to be able to show your partner. The interesting part about that is that I think sometimes we miss other parts of the masculine energy of being able to sit there with your partner and connect with her and hold her and cry with her.
Just listen. Yeah.
And just listen, and then be able to say, what do you need from me? How can I help you go forward? And bring the masculine in to lead without saying, I'm going to take over. Masculine energy is not, I'm going to take over. Masculine energy is, I can be vulnerable with you and I can support you through your vulnerability, and I know how to do that, and I can do that. But what I can also do is go, so what do you need from me now? And how can I help you? How can I lead you now and support with you and walk through you to get to where you want to go? That's your masculine energy kicking in. So at both sides, it's not all that your feminine energy is, support is not feminine energy. It's the availability, like you said, to lead. So even in that situation, you can get into your masculine and go, right, so what do you need from me? How can I? And bring in that action taking to support them to get to where your partner or your children or whoever needs to go. And so you are definitely going into your masculine and feminine all the time.
Yeah.
I think we have just structured it that masculine energy is going out and taking action in something, where it's something that you come in and out of all the time, and just think, again, accepting that is also very masculine is not necessarily something that's mainstream thinking.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. It's also masculine also to sit, listen, and say, and not just for a lot of guys, they want to help out, like right away, like oh, so you're having a hard day. What can I do? What can I do to help you? It's like, okay, I've learned. Okay, I know you've been through a hard time. I listened to you, and like you said, okay, I can support you, but you have to figure this out for yourself. I cannot solve all your problems. This is something that you need to do for yourself. And if she wants to talk to me about something, I will sit down with her. And if I can say, "Hey, do you need some advice?" She will say yes or no. And then that's it. But for us men, especially nice guys, they want to solve people's problems. They want to solve girls' problems so they get the approval and being liked and seen. That's not masculinity. That's people pleasing. That's something that you so I need to do this, I need to do that for get people's approval, and that doesn't work. So you said it really well, and for me it's really what men are need to going through is like you said, the masculine, the dance with the masculine and the feminine, and don't shut people out in yourself. I've in the beginning when of my journey, I shut a lot of people out because I was on this high of belief, like I know it all, I've learned all of this, but I was like, I'm such a fool. I can learn from everybody. I can learn from you, Tammy. I can learn from a drifter. I can learn from other people. So I open up more to other people and say, okay, how can I change myself in this, or how can I learn? But also not go too deep into the masculine and feminine. Now we're going deeper into it, but eventually you need to let it go. You need to do what feels important and you need to act on it. And it's a journey. So you made some really powerful points, Tamie, and I really, really appreciate it. It's a really good conversation. I really enjoyed it. The second thing that I want to go into is the work that you do, Tamie. And then after that, I'm gonna ask you some couple of questions, and then we're gonna slowly get to a close. So, how can men, if they hear this and they say like, "Wow, Tamie, this is really cool. I want to work with you." What is the process, and what is the things that you can help them with?
So the process really is reaching out to me, whether it be via email or through my Facebook. A lot of it's through that. And I think to begin with, it's a conversation. It really is just a conversation. I think one thing that I have learned and working with me is that vulnerability is something that needs to be learned. But sometimes it's needing a safe place with even just one person that can hold that for you. And I think learning these things, you do need one person, at least one person you can go to that can hold that space in you, that you can have time and space and the safe space to learn how to do that. Because learning how to do that in your normal world is not easy, and sitting with discomfort and uncertainty and vulnerability really needs to have its own space. And that's what I do with men, is I hold that space and that safe space to be able to be open and vulnerable about what they want, work through what they've been through, like you were talking about all earlier, the trauma, the stories that we grew up telling ourselves, those limiting beliefs, looking through all of those things, but connecting them into the body and connecting them into a space where they can build a relationship with vulnerability, so that when they're in their life, when they're with other people, when they're doing the things in their world, they have already built a strength and a muscle that even when it may not be acceptable, they can still stand in that power of vulnerability and being themselves and connecting with themselves. So I do a lot of one-on-one work. As I said, I've done group work before, and I'm building that because I think there is also a big power in men being vulnerable in front of other men and building that relationship and camaraderie to be able to know that they're not the only one doing this. They're not the only one learning to be vulnerable. They're not the only one that wants to build their relationships and their connection with themselves and others in that way. But a lot of my work is one-on-one because it's building that safe space to be able to do that work, knowing that it's okay and that you are accepted here, and that we can go as deep as you need to be able to discover who you are in the realm of vulnerability and connection with self and emotions.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Tamie. What came to me that I want to add, safety. That's something that was so hard for me to feel safe. And for men, that sounds really weird. How for men to feel safe? But I learned if I don't feel safe, for example, with myself, then I'm not gonna do the things that I want to do. If I talk to women and I don't feel safe, then I won't do it. So feeling safe is so important. And also as a highly sensitive and an empath, it was hard. It was such a struggle for me to feel safe everywhere. But once you know and once you learn and use strategies or tools for you to help to go through it, you learn to feel safe again. So I really wanted to ask you that, Tamie, how important is it for men to feel safe, and how can they do that?
Safety for men is one of the paramount things for change. 100%. And knowing that they're safe to be able to also say anything they need to and know that it's going to be held and that it is not going to be judged is the most important thing for change. And I think How do you find that? It is literally finding that one person you can do that with, to build that with, and knowing that that person can handle it, and that person's their commitment is also to your safety, to be able to give you a space to grow vulnerability and be honest with yourself about it. Because I think even when men think they're being honest with themselves in their own space and when they're on their own, sometimes until you verbalize that and somebody can reflect back to you how you're thinking and look at it from a different perspective and help you look from a different perspective, you really are, that depth of vulnerability and honesty with yourself is so much harder to gain and so much harder to really get to. But when you can do that with somebody else, in the presence of somebody else, and somebody else who can hold that and understands the safety and the respect and the vulnerability in that, it can move mountains. It really can.
Yeah, well said. I totally agree. There's two things that I want to add is we are really lying to ourselves. When we say, I really want to have this for my family, it's usually, what do you need? Well, we don't put ourselves at the first place anymore. We're always doing things for others instead of saying, what do I want? What's important for me? So usually we're lying to ourselves to give others people what they need. And I did that for years. I was constantly lying to myself, saying, well, if I do this for other people, then people will like me more, or people will respect me more. Or if I work so hard for my boss, then he will give me a promotion more. But it's like, what am I doing? This is not me. I'm trying to be somebody else that I'm not. So I was constantly having these lies on myself. And it's also from media, from society. We put all these ideas in our heads, but we have to digest this and say, is this really true? Is this really me? Is this really what I need to do? Is this something that's important for me? And I've seen so many men say, yeah, but if I don't do this for my family, I cannot provide. But I tell them, but if you cannot take care of yourself, you cannot take care of them. So you always need to put yourself at the first place. And it's not being selfish, but it's important for your health and well-being, and know that it's also good. It's good for your health, it's good for your mindset, it's good for the direction that you want to go to. So I try to say, man, it's not judgment here, but I say you need to start putting yourself at the first place. And I think for us men, it's really hard, right, Tamie, for us to put ourselves on the first place, number one.
It is, because I think too, if you do that, sometimes you lose things. And that can be lots of different things. And there is an idea that things changing and evolving is losing things, which means that you have failed at something, and you're not failing, you're growing. And I think it's really rewriting that whole idea of yes, when you grow, it changes things. Dynamics change, relationships change, but it's not focusing on what things have changed or what things you don't have now, but the growth of the things you do, and the growth of the connections you have, and the changes that have brought joy to everybody in your relationship. Not always feeling like it's fighting a battle uphill. So 100%.
Yeah, and also what came to is also patting yourself on the back, like, hey, I did something good today. I did something for my wife, or did something for my kids, and I'm really proud of it. Or I started this conversation with somebody, or I talk with somebody, or I overcome my fears. We were so caught up in achieving that we don't take a moment for, wow, I'm really proud of what I did. Wow, I'm so excited that I overcame this fear, and now I know, so now I can move forward. We always try, like I said before, we're always trying to get validation from other people to feel loved, to feel liked, to feel wanted. But we need to start going back and say, I've done this. I've done this for myself. I'm going to the gym. For me personally, I go to the gym on a regular basis. It's really hard to be this consistent, but I see my muscles grow, my confidence grow, and I feel more powerful. So I say, well done. I'm having this consistency again. I love to go to the gym. So that's something for men also that we need to start doing. Don't wait for other people to validate your. That is something that we desire. It's also culture. It goes back to the cave time and stuff like that. But we need to start. We need to be our own cheerleaders. I would say we need to. If somebody else cannot do it, then we need to do it ourselves. And that's something that I learned as a man, that if I want charge in my life, I have to take leadership from it. I cannot depend on other people. I cannot wait for other people to come into my life and change my life. I need to do it. I need to go into to the things that I feel is important, and then I will manifest it. I will create it. So that's something that I want to give to men, is put yourself at the first place, but also put yourself on the back and give yourself some slack if you're having a hard time or you don't know what to do and it's frustrating. Just don't beat yourself up because you're a man. Just say, okay, I'm also a human being, and I'm allowed to make mistakes. And it's, for men, it's really hard to say it's okay for me to make a mistake, right?
100%. And I think it does. I think, great point. It's also building a different relationship with failure and what failure is, and that failure is not a bad thing. And also really building on what you just said about patting yourself on the back. We talk about gratitude a lot, and a lot of practices around writing things down that you're grateful for. And I think sometimes it's really realizing that gratitude is also an emotion. It's also feeling joy. It's also celebrating yourself and being grateful for the fact that you challenge yourself, that you be vulnerable, that you have achieved whatever you have in that moment, in that day, and really having gratitude for yourself and what you achieve and who you are and what you do. And look at it bigger than just writing a list of things that you're grateful for every day, but really knowing that you can celebrate gratitude in yourself, and it's emotion, and it's to be felt and experienced and given out. Also, that you're allowed to have gratitude for things you do and who you are.
Yeah, and don't change that. Don't change yourself for others, and just be yourself. And it's something that always comes up, like, yeah, just be yourself. Yeah, you need to be yourself, but don't change yourself for others. You always, I'm myself, but I always try to strive to the next level. How can I improve myself? What can I do next? So I don't stuck. And for men, it's important to move forward. We need direction. We need purpose. So yeah, you said it perfectly, Tamie. So thank you so much for this powerful episode. I really, really enjoyed it. But before we're gonna go off, I have two more questions, and then we can close it off. So my first question is, I usually ask this. I have two. What are the 3 to 5 tips that you can share with men if they say, "Wow, Tamie, this is so cool"? They know how they can reach out and work with you, but what are the tips that they can do and start now for them to make an impact on their lives? You've spoken about vulnerability, and what are the other steps that they can do for them to move forward into the direction that they want to go?
Find joy. Find the things that light you up, and actually just build on that. Keep building on that, and give yourself the time to enjoy those things and the space. Slow down. Men rush through life a lot of the time because they're trying to, like you said, trying to achieve everything all the time. Slow down and be present. Presence is one of the most powerful things in connection and in even being able to achieve what you want to do. So slow down and be present.
Yeah.
Acknowledge your emotions and acknowledge your emotions. Acknowledge your emotions is the last one. It's a lot of work to connect with yourself and on all of those sorts of things, as we've spoken about. But I think just being able to acknowledge that you have emotions and it's okay to have them, it's a big step in the right direction to go, yep, okay, I'm feeling stuff and that's okay. You might not understand it. You may shut it down, all those sorts of things. But to get to a point where you can go, yep, I'm having an emotion. I'm being vulnerable. I'm feeling something, and that's okay. They're the three big things I think that men can focus on that can make big changes, and they're three really simple things. In essence, as I say to all my clients, change is simple. The steps of change and the steps of growth are simple, but if it was easy to do, everybody would be doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, you nailed it on the head right there. Yeah, you're so right. And you made some really good points and some tools for men to start. And it's also awareness, because we're on this autopilot, like you said, we just rush through life, and then we hit a wall. It's like, oh, now what? I'm now what? And it's really becoming aware. Okay, why is this happening? Why are you hitting this wall? Or why are you having bad relationships? Or why you're addicted to things? I want to ask you something about that as well before we're gonna go to close. Well, it's really becoming aware of the habits, becoming aware of the masculine and the feminine, becoming aware of what's happening. Why is the emotions coming up? Why are you feeling angry? Why are you feeling sad? Those things matter. Don't shut it out and put it away and say, well, I will deal with it. You need to deal with it right away, because they will tell you something important, something that you need to deal with, something to overcome, or something to move you forward to the next level or the next relationship, or something that feels important, but you don't know what's going on. So that's something that I've learned, is becoming aware. And that's really the power of my show, awareness. If you create awareness with yourself and the environment, life becomes easier. People make life so hard because they're not aware, because they let life just happen to them instead of taking charge and do what's important for them. So that's something that I want to put a pin on and say, this is important. So Tamie, I had another question, but that's something that will come after. Pornography, is it something that men also come to you as well? Is it a high level of that you hear men talk about, or not?
It's interesting. I think some men do, and I think it comes in, and it's an interesting conversation. I think and I like the fact that this conversation's happening with men now more often than it was, and I think it's a conversation that I've had many times with men, and I think it's really an interesting thing with addiction in all areas, but pornography as a whole, because I think the idea behind it, and it really comes down to the root of just wanting to distract and wanting to not feel. It's interesting. A lot of people think it's to feel something and it's to gain something, but what it really is the idea of being able to fulfill a need that they don't have, and it does come back to connect to not being able to be vulnerable with themselves and others of what their needs are and what they're trying to close up and shut down. And so it does come, and it really, I think there is a lot of ideas of what it's about, but realistically it comes down to needs and vulnerability and being able to create the relationships that you actually want.
Yeah, that's a good point. The reason I ask, because I've been a porn addict for decades. So yeah, it was really hard. And for me, it was a coping mechanism. It was for me to cope with the emptiness that I felt. I felt like if I'm with porn, I felt I have something that I was missing, because I struggled most of my life talking to women. I got hurt a lot. I got rejected a lot. when I was younger, and I just made it all personal. So every time I got rejected, I went home and watched porn. So that was for me to cope with emotions, and it was a lot intenser back then because I wasn't aware. I wasn't aware what's was happening, and plus it's trauma. So I was traumatized. I didn't have a way to cope, and pornography was for me to cope. And for people, it's drugs or alcohol or gambling, sex, drugs. It's a way to cope, and
It is.
it was hard. But I realized, okay, this is something that I try to fill the void and go outside of myself. So, yeah, thank you for sharing. I really wanted to ask you that because you work with men, and I was really curious because I'm also building a course for men to quit porn. So I was really curious if you also have a lot of high demand of men saying, Tammy, I'm having an addict with porn. I want to quit.
I think sometimes men don't actually see it as an issue a lot of the time because in society as a whole, it's so normalized these days. And I say that probably a lot of people may not agree, but it's very normalized these days as a normal thing. And I think the unfortunate part of that is that then you miss the availability to look at why men have normalized it to do exactly what you said, to, cope with things. But because it's so normalized these days, I think people don't look at it, and men especially don't look at it as a coping mechanism for things and for filling voids. They look at it as just something that normal men do. And I think that's the unfortunate part about it these days. But again, I could talk about that for a long time too. It's because what you're saying is right.
Yeah, maybe we can do that in another episode. We can talk more into addiction side. Maybe that's something that we can do in the future as well. But yeah, Tammy, it was really amazing. I really enjoyed every second, every minute of talking to you, and yeah, it was really fun. Again, I've learned so much from you, and I'm really grateful that we finally got the chance to finally sit down and have a conversation. So thank you. Tammy, my final question, and I ask my guests this question all the time. What was for you the lowest point in your life, the hardest moment in your life? And what was for you the most proudest moment or the most achieving moment in your life?
The lowest moment in my life probably would have been about 5 or 6 years ago, actually, when I had achieved so much in my life that I thought I should achieve and that I thought would make my world great, and that everybody would accept me and that everything would be perfect in my life, and I'd achieved so much, yet I felt still so empty. And that's what started my journey on coaching and looking for self-awareness and looking for self-acceptance and self-love. So that would be my lowest point. And I suppose the interesting question around what is the highlight? Wow, I think there are so many that I have such great gratitude for, from being a mum to being a grandmother to the career achievements I've had. I think are all high points because they have brought me to exactly where I am today, exactly who I am today, and are giving me and building the opportunities I have going forward. So I don't think I can give you one because I have too much gratitude for so many.
That's good. Yeah, that's really important. And the reason I ask this because a lot of people forget the lowest points in their lives, where they started or what the hardest moment and where they are today. And you clarify that if you didn't make those changes or you didn't follow that feeling or you felt like I have to change, then you wouldn't be the person that you are today. And everything happens for a reason, but it really depends how you act on it, what you do with it. So yeah, Tammy, thank you so much for sharing. I also saw my notes that you also have a free gift. Is that still available or?
Yes, it definitely is. Yes. So
okay, great. Can you share that with us?
Yes, it's a workbook around all this sort of thing that I've spoken about vulnerability, about joy, and about really connecting with those 3 key points that I spoke about, really, and starting that journey of really discovering what you want in life and what components you can start working on to achieve that.
Yeah, good point. And yeah, this is so important to really start be vulnerable, not like being vulnerable and share every dark secret about yourself, but really opening up. For example, with men, if we're not easily to talk about problems with women, but for men it's also important that we connect more with men. That's why with my course I want to have a men's group, so we can sit together and we can talk. We can talk about what's happening in our lives. We can talk about addictions, problems, but also our wins, the things that it didn't go well. So I want to create a space for men so we can talk about it. We can share what's happening. And I feel like there's not enough groups for men to share. And I think you also seen it with your coaching as well, that men are looking for other men to connect, to talk with. So yeah, that's so important. And thank you so much for your free gift, Tamie. So yeah, it's been really cool. I'm actually looking forward to talk with you again. I wish I had more time to talk with you because you're really interesting. You have so much knowledge how to help men, and you're so easy to talk to. You have so much calmness and steadiness. It's really nice. It's really nice to have guests that's really calm. I always felt really connected with people that are calm. When they're more extrovert, I'm sometimes like, okay, it's too much. But yeah, I can still work with that. But yeah, Tamie, thank you so much for your time and being here. And yeah, so how can they connect with you? How can they follow you?
So Facebook is a really big one for me. I am on LinkedIn, as we spoke about. I'm on LinkedIn as well. And I think I have an email address as well. I'm really open to connecting with men on however they want to connect. So email, Facebook. Facebook's the main one that most people connect me through, and LinkedIn. And I think it's really just hitting me up in my DMs and just and starting that conversation. I think and realizing too that it is just a conversation. What you always get to choose where you go from there, and I'm open to any conversations, and I share a lot of things through my social medias, but I also have a lot of opportunities of stuff that I do and free things that I do and all sorts of things. So they're the best ways to contact me and to just start, really opening up your mind to what a different way of thinking.
Yeah, it's interesting that you said that, Tamie, because I remember when we connected, you said, I'm going to reach out, because usually most people just connect and they don't say anything.
Yep.
And I was like, wow, she's so right, because I usually do that as well. And then they have a really good post. Like, I should reach out to them. It's like, yeah, I could have done that sooner. It's not like I have to reach out to everybody, but I feel like the most important, or you feel a connection or some kind of energy, that's important to chase that. Because if you didn't say anything, we wouldn't be sitting here. I wouldn't have this amazing interview with you. So yeah, that's something that came to me. Like, yeah, I need to follow up on that more. If I feel something that I need to connect with, or I need to do something, boom, right, do it away. Don't tomorrow or next month. For men, it's really important to take action right away if we feel something. It's hard sometimes, but of the distraction that we have. But yeah, take action of the feeling that you have. It will change your life dramatically. And yeah, that's for me that I want to share. So Tamie, before we're gonna go off, is there something else that you want to share with us, or your feedback, or something that you feel is important?
Oh, look, I just want to thank you. This has been an amazing space to sit in and a brilliant conversation. I just thank you for the opportunity to be able to have this conversation. It is a very foreign place for women to sit in this space, and it's not always accepted. And so I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to really just be able to dive into this conversation. It has been absolutely amazing to chat with you, and again, to get to know you, and to be able to, this amazing space that you have, to be able to give these conversations space to be had, so that it can change how we look at things and how men show up in the world, and hopefully too how society as a whole and communities can start having these conversations to be able to change the normality of it, so men feel safe to be able to be like to challenge these thoughts in their whole entire life. So thank you.
Yeah, I felt that. Yeah. I really want to thank you also for doing the work that you're doing. I know it's something is not easy. I think for women to work with men can be challenging. But yeah, you're doing really powerful work. You're giving men a chance. And that's what I want to do. I told myself I cannot help every man out there. They have free will. So I can say something, but it's their decision. It's their choice to change their lives. I cannot do that for them. But for the work that you're doing and for what I'm doing, creating awareness, I'm giving them a chance. I'm showing them another side of the wall or the door. I'm opening up like a small way for them to see through it. Like, oh, there's another way for me to live, or there's another thing that I can change my life, or this tool from Tamie, or the free gift that changed my life. It can be one thing, and that can change people's life forever. So yeah, thank you so much for you as well, Tamie. I received that. I really appreciate you and the work that you do. I had an awesome conversation with you. I really felt it right away when we had this pre-call months and months ago that we had a great conversation. And yeah, like I said, if you're up in the future, we can do another one.
Definitely, we'd love that. It would be absolutely amazing. And thank you for the work you do. It's absolutely brilliant.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. So guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for listening after. Yeah, like you heard, Tamie is awesome, and she's so kind, and she has really takes the time for you to help you. So if you feel that you want to reach out to her, don't hesitate and just send her a DM. Just say, hi, Tamie, just connect and see where things going. So I really want to share that with you. So yeah, I really appreciate it, guys, that you've been here today again. And yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe on the How to Heart Show. You can look me up on YouTube and other platforms. I'm on social media. I'm now focusing a lot on LinkedIn. I'm also building my coaching as well, my coaching practice, and I'm also working on a course for men to quit porn, because like Tamie said, there's a lot of taboo. We think it's okay, but I've been addicted for 20 years and I had a hard time to let go from that. So it's not something that we need to see lightly, and especially the age today, the children are watching it, and once they start, boom, they're addicted, and it messes with their brains and the dopamine level. So we need to act on it and be more aware of how damaging it can be. For me, it was a coping mechanism, but for children, they don't know. And that's something that we need to take seriously. So yeah, again, thank you so much. Tamie, thank you so much for your time and for being here. And I wish everybody a really amazing day, and always live from the heart and act from it and be vulnerable in the way as you can. So again, guys, thank you so much, and I wish you all the best. Take care. Bye.
Hey Lions, thank you for listening. Glad to have you on our journey to the authentic self. Want to learn more to embrace your potential? I invite you to keep listening. Do me a favor and smash the like and subscribe buttons, as this helps the show reach more listeners who need to hear these messages. See you next time.